Bellingham. We talk a bit of Jude? Nah, nah, nah. Come on, sing along. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Hey, Jude, 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 Jude. So what was that? Why are cats crying outside? I don't know. You've seen what I've seen this week, right? That Hayden Dodge, who's a football agent, was speaking with, I believe, Caught Offside. And he's been quoted as saying that it's well known in his circles that Liverpool have submitted a bid of around £100 million, or maybe just below £100 million, to Borussia Dortmund. I honestly don't know if that's true or not, but I hope it is, because it does two things if it is true. It tells us that, one, Liverpool are willing to spend big money on Jude Bellingham, and that, two, we've been chipping away in the background, just like I've told you. So for me, it's brilliant. I hope it's true. I don't know if it is or not. But my one worry about this, and the only thing that's held me back from saying without any doubt that Jude Bellingham will be a Liverpool player, was the fee. But if we're willing to go to 100 million, I think we'd go to 110. I think we'd go a little bit higher even if needs be. So I think all signs are good. Even at my end, it's still full steam ahead from what I've heard. So let's look at the alternatives. And it's fair that we have an open conversation about this, because I can't rule out Real Madrid being a very attractive option. Who can? It's a huge club. They have money. They have reach. But I will say what I've always said. I don't think it's the right move at this point in Jude Bellingham's career. Down the line, perhaps, he's still only 19 now. If he came to Liverpool and even did 6 or 7 years, you can still get that huge move to a club like Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, whoever you want to go with, whoever's your dream club. But let's not forget some of the really important facts around Jude Bellingham right now. One, is it an accident that he's always pictured with Liverpool players? Is it an accident that he's going to concerts with Trent? Is it an accident that Thierry Henry has said, we all know Bellingham's going to Liverpool? Is it an accident that Henry Winter has said, I can't wait to see Jude Bellingham in a Liverpool shirt next season? Is it an accident that I told you 16 months ago that Liverpool would sign Jude Bellingham? Is it an accident that Jurgen Klopp has constantly been speaking positively about Jude Bellingham? No, it isn't an accident. It's because it is most likely where Jude Bellingham will be playing football next season. I don't think he ends up at Manchester City. I don't think he ends up at Real Madrid. I think he ends up at Liverpool Football Club. And I'm going to tell you why I think it's possible now in a minute, because I'm going to try and link a few things together to give you a bit of a clearer picture of what I think may happen over the summer. So let's move on to Ndicka. Eintracht Frankfurt centre-back, somebody who has been linked with Liverpool a lot over the last month, and somebody who I think could be a really, really clever piece of business from Liverpool for a couple of reasons. One, free transfer, right? So that means if you were to sign him and you were to give him a signing on bonus and you were to give him a relatively decent wage over 4 or 5 years with amortization, it really helps Liverpool be able to spread that cost out and put pots of money in other areas. You see where I'm going now? Then we move on to Mason Mount, another player who I think a lot of Liverpool fans are split on. I think that's fair. But what we know for a fact is that Jurgen Klopp is an admirer of Mason Mount. We also know that Chelsea have to sell players because they need to meet FFP regulations, and the quickest way to make profit is to sell academy products. He's also got 1 year left on his Chelsea contract. And I think if Liverpool were to be able to bring Mason Mount in for, let's say 40 million quid plus 200 grand a week. Let's throw that number out there. Now, that's a made up number that I have plucked out of my backside, but I think it's a fair number. I think Liverpool could afford that if they're losing the wages of a Bobby Firmino, if they're losing the wages of maybe a James Milner, certainly a Naby Keita, certainly an Adrian San Miguel. That starts to free up a big pot of money that Liverpool can allocate elsewhere. And he also ticks another important box, which is the homegrown box. So if you have a midfield in the future of Jude Bellingham, Mason Mount, and an other, because I don't know who that third choice midfielder could be, you start to see then with Stefan Bajcetic, with Jordan Henderson, with Fabinho maybe still at the club, with Thiago with a year to go, how you've bought yourself a bit more time to reshape that midfield and to get the age bracket of that midfield down quite a bit. So I think that we could well see a summer that sees Liverpool sign Jude Bellingham, sees Liverpool make a very strong play for Mason Mount. I can't say to you with any certainty where Mason Mount ends up. He could end up at United, he could end up at Liverpool. Heaven knows he may even stay at Chelsea. But the interest is genuine, and I can see how it would make sense. And you add Ndicka into that as a third choice centre back or somebody to come in and battle for that third choice place with Joe Gomez. You've got Van Dijk and Canade as your 1 and 2. Ndicka and Gomez as your backups is not too shabby. I'm excited. Yeah, the last week has given me time to reflect. I've read up on a lot of stuff. I've read as much media speculation as I can from all sides. And I think the more this window's starting to take shape, I think that's probably where we'll end up going. So a Jude Bellingham and a Mason Mount and somebody else. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm seeing enough stories and enough credible journalists piecing it together to think that there must be something to it. Mount is overhated. I thought you said overrated, but you said overhated, in my opinion. I can see why Jurgen Klopp would be interested in him. I can see because he works hard, Mason Mount. Jurgen Klopp probably looks at Mason Mount and sees the third midfielder in a midfield trio, him being the more attack-minded with maybe a Jude Bellingham and a Houlden sitting midfielder playing there with the base as well, Bellingham with license to get forward when he needs to. Matthew said Mount is shocking. Is he though? I mean, I get if you don't like him, mate. I get if you don't think he's good enough, but shocking? I mean, I had to listen to some people say this about Jordan Henderson for the longest time as well, even when you had top manager after top manager speaking very positively about him. Like, if Jurgen Klopp thinks a player is really good, if Frank Lampard thinks the player is really good, if Gareth Southgate thinks the player is really good, if Thomas Tuchel thinks the player is really good, there must be something about the player, right? Because these lads aren't idiots. They're all footballing men who have been around the sport as players, coaches, and spotted talent. And if they think that Mason Mount has something about him, then Mason Mount's probably got something about him. But I do understand you mightn't think he's a good fit, but he's not shocking. Did I see David Ornstein said about Jude Bellingham being unlikely? I seen the article, and I don't know if it's the one you're speaking about, Nep, where David Ornstein said that Real Madrid and Manchester City have more money than Liverpool, basically. And David Ornstein is an incredible journalist, but he hasn't always been right. And I suppose the case in point for that is probably this story around FSG putting Liverpool up for sale. It wasn't mentioned anywhere else as a matter of fact, other than in that David Ornstein Athletic article. So, I mean, the article for me around the Manchester City and Real Madrid stuff was an article that didn't really say anything other than they have more money. So, if it was an article that David had said, I heard X and Y, I'd go, all right, fair enough. Unpopular opinion, not saying I've seen a great amount of Bellingham, but what I've seen, I don't really see this player that will come in and all of a sudden will start playing again. Maybe I've just seen him at bad moments. From what I've seen, I don't see a 110 million player. Again, you know, we all see, admire, appreciate different attributes of different players, and you know, your opinion is valid opinion. It's your own opinion. But again, I'd say to you, Steven Gerrard's talking about the fact that Bellingham's further along in his career at 19 than he was. You've got Klopp singing his praises, Guardiola singing his praises, Dortmund singing his praises, Real Madrid wanting him. That's not an accident. Like, even if you say, well, he's an English talent, so obviously Liverpool or Man City would want him. Real Madrid wanting the kid as well, he is a real talent. And 19 years of age, and Bellingham is able to do what he's been doing. I think he's incredible.